Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. I'm your anchor. Name. In the Middle East, tensions are escalating as the United States takes a significant step towards reclaiming its presence in the region. U.S. warships have crossed the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since the Iran conflict began, marking a major development in the ongoing standoff. We'll bring you the latest on this development, as well as updates on negotiations with Iran and a call from a former general to the U.S. president. Let's dive into the news. For the first time in nearly 2 years, a U.S. naval vessel has traversed the highly contested Strait of Hormuz, a move with significant geopolitical implications. U.S. Navy ships have crossed the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran began on February 28. The move was confirmed by a U.S. official, who stated that the crossing was not coordinated with Iran. According to Axios reporter Barak Ravid, the U.S. ships entered the strait on Saturday, marking a significant development in the ongoing conflict. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway for global crude and liquefied natural gas (LNG) trade, with nearly 20% of the world's oil passing through it. The war has disrupted flows through the strait, resulting in a severe energy shock globally. The conflict has also claimed the lives of nearly 3,000 Iranians, according to the country's health authorities, as well as at least 13 U.S. servicemen. Pakistan is currently mediating negotiations to bring an end to the extensive Middle East armed conflict. The country facilitated a 2-week U.S.-Iran ceasefire earlier this week. The U.S. official statement suggests that the recent tensions may be easing, but the situation remains volatile. The crossing of U.S. Navy ships through the Strait of Hormuz is seen as a significant gesture, but its implications are unclear. The move may be intended to demonstrate U.S. military presence in the region or to send a message to Iran. Regardless, it is likely to have significant implications for global energy markets and the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The situation remains fluid, and further developments are expected in the coming days. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a former U.S. general is calling on President Trump to establish a direct line with Chinese President Xi Jinping. A former U.S. general is urging President Trump to take action against Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. Retired Army General Jack Keane made the call during an interview on the Katz and Cosby radio show on Friday. Keane believes that the U.S. should stop Iranian oil-carrying ships from reaching their destinations in countries such as China, Japan, and South Korea. Keane's comments come as tensions between the U.S. and Iran remain high. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway that connects the Middle East to the global oil market. Iran's control over the area has been a major concern for the U.S., which has a significant interest in maintaining access to the region's oil supplies. The U.S. has been involved in a series of incidents with Iranian ships in the Strait of Hormuz, including the attack on 2 oil tankers in June and the seizure of a U.S. drone in July. The U.S. has also imposed sanctions on Iran, which has retaliated with missile strikes on U.S. military bases in Iraq. Keane's comments are significant because of his military background and his access to sensitive information. As a former commander of U.S. forces in Iraq and Afghanistan, Keane has a deep understanding of the region's security dynamics. His advice to Trump is likely to be taken seriously by policymakers in Washington. As the fate of the Iran nuclear deal remains uncertain, with talks suspended for months, the onus now shifts to the United States. Iran's stance on resuming negotiations with the United States has become increasingly firm, with Tehran's official stance being that the country is not in a hurry to return to the negotiating table. According to a report by Tasnim news agency, citing an informed source, Iran believes the ball is now in the court of the United States. Iran has presented what it considers reasonable initiatives during previous talks, but the country's officials have expressed frustration with the pace and direction of the negotiations. The Iranian government has accused the United States of miscalculating the situation and warned that any change in the Strait of Hormuz would only occur if the U.S. agrees to a deal that meets Iran's requirements. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz remains a pressing concern for both countries, as the waterway is a critical artery for global oil supplies. The U.S. has consistently sought to reassure its allies and partners in the region that it will not compromise on its national security interests. Iran's stance on resuming negotiations has significant implications for the future of U.S.-Iran relations. The negotiations have been ongoing since 2014, but have repeatedly broken down over disagreements on key issues, including Iran's nuclear program and its regional influence. The situation is likely to remain volatile until a deal is reached, and both countries will need to demonstrate flexibility and a willingness to compromise if a resolution is to be found. Tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate as American naval vessels make a significant move in a region already marked by heightened tensions. Good evening, I'm journalist Name, and this is a recap of the latest news. The United States has sent its warships to cross the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since the escalation of tensions with Iran. According to a U.S. official, the operation took place on Saturday, and it was not coordinated with Iran. This move is significant, as it marks the first time U.S. warships have crossed the strait since the conflict began. The operation was aimed at increasing confidence for commercial ships to cross the strait, which is a critical waterway for international trade. The U.S. official described the operation as one that focused on freedom of navigation through international waters. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway that connects the Gulf of Oman to the Persian Gulf, and it is a key route for oil tankers and other commercial vessels. Iran has threatened to close the strait if the U.S. and its allies interfere with its naval operations in the region. The U.S. move comes as peace talks between the U.S. and Iran have kicked off in Pakistan. The talks are being led by Special Envoy Robert Malley and Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. While the talks are ongoing, the U.S. military action is seen as a show of force and a demonstration of American resolve. The operation has been welcomed by some as a necessary measure to protect American interests and the freedom of navigation in the region. However, others have expressed concerns that the move could exacerbate tensions and lead to further conflict. The situation remains fluid, and we will continue to follow developments in the region. The situation at the Strait of Hormuz continues to escalate as Iran demands a reasonable agreement from the U.S., leaving the status quo unchanged. Tensions in the Middle East have escalated over the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran refusing to budge on its stance regarding control of the waterway. According to reports from Tasnim news agency, citing an informed source, any changes to the current situation would require the U.S. to agree on what Tehran considers a reasonable deal. The U.S. and Iran have been engaged in negotiations, with the U.S. presenting its final and best offer during talks, according to U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. However, the Iranian delegation has expressed no interest in continuing negotiations, with Fars news agency reporting that Iran has no plans to hold another round of talks with the U.S. This stalemate has significant implications for global energy markets, as the Strait of Hormuz is a critical choke point for oil shipments between the Middle East and the rest of the world. The U.S. has been pushing for Iran to give up its stockpile of enriched uranium, which is seen as a key component of its nuclear program. Iran, on the other hand, has insisted on its right to control the Strait of Hormuz, citing its sovereignty over the territory. The situation has sparked concerns among world leaders, with many warning of the potential for conflict. The U.S. has warned that it will not tolerate any attempts by Iran to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz, while Iran has threatened to take action if its interests are not respected. With tensions running high, it remains to be seen whether a deal can be reached or whether the situation will escalate further. That's all for today's news recap. We'll continue to monitor the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and provide updates as more information becomes available. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay informed about breaking news, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We'll bring you the latest updates as they happen. Until next time, goodbye.